It's time for the Brouhaha Sports Show. Brouhaha Sports with award-winning sports writer Dale McKee and co-host Marshall Wood. Talking sports with the legends of the game and famous sports personalities. Brouhaha! Now to Marshall and Dale with tonight's guest.
Good evening, everyone. Brouhaha time. Marshall Wood sitting here with Dale McKee, ready to do it again. Hey, Dale.
Hey, man, how you doing?
How's everything in the Brouhaha world?
Man, I'll tell you what, I'm getting a lot of compliments on the show, man. People listen to it on Tuesdays or listen to it on Fridays before the ball games. Yeah. Man, that people getting excited, man.
Oh, boy.
Excited.
Yeah.
I got to get a little shout out to Tony Freeman for, texting me. Yeah, we appreciate all that Claire support.
Yes, sir, we do.
For the Brouhaha.
Yeah, man. Yeah. A lot of stuff going on out there in the old world.
There is.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. How about them Seminoles, man? I'm telling you.
Ooh,
I called it last year. I said it didn't belong in the playoff. That quarterback that got hurt.
What's the difference?
Their program is in a burning pile.
It is.
I mean, right now. They're even talking about getting rid of Norvell. Before 2 games ago, they thought he was wonderful. Thought they should have been. They played 2 games this year, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, they thought he was great. Thought he should have been in the playoffs, and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, that thing disintegrated in a hurry, didn't it?
It did. I really kind of almost feel bad for him. In a way, I do. But they made so much fuss about getting out of the ACC. I imagine all the other ACC members are kind of laughing at Clemson and Florida State now, saying, "Hey, what do y'all bring to the conference?
Yeah.
Who wants y'all really?"
Dabo Swinney's done.
Well, I tell you,
unless he changes his ways and gets off his horse and starts getting in this portal, he's done.
Well, any successful business has to change over as time goes on. And I mean, we'll say what it is, but it is a business. Miami impressed me, and Miami's roster was full of transfers. Full of transfers. Yeah, well, Ole Miss too, but we knew
Alabama's got some.
But we knew about Ole Miss. But Miami had a load, man. They had the quarterback from Washington State, Cam Ward. I mean, he looked tremendous.
Miami's been throwing money at that football program for years. Now it's legal.
Yeah.
It's like Doc Holliday with that badge out there on the old oak tree by the this, and now it's illegal when he showed old Johnny Ringo.
Could you repeat to the audience what Nick Saban said about rosters?
Sure, I sure can. He said you can get a $20 million roster, but if you're paying the wrong guys, you're out of luck.
Okay. I was just testing you there.
Yeah.
See if you had a great memory like I thought you did.
Oh, yeah. It's great to pay them. I mean, you can pay anybody.
Yeah.
Heck, they can pay you $20 million a year to come over and play Dale, but they'd probably be SOL. I mean, nothing personal, but I just can't see you playing in the SEC right now.
Wasn't that one time I thought I could?
Well, hey, when I was about 5-6 years old, I thought I could play anywhere in the world.
Oh, man, I was still thinking about it at 17, 18.
Oh, but you know what? I go back to Dabo, and I've been a Dabo fan. He's done a great job up there.
Oh, I love Dabo as a person.
Yeah, and I understand where he's coming from. But it may be time for him to do like Nick, just hit the road because he.
In defense of him, he said even after the post-game interview, he said, you write what you want about what happened today because we played terrible. But let me tell you, I'm going to do what's good for Clemson. So, there may be some underlying facts there. He may be barred from, we always blame it on Dabo, but, who is maybe somebody else is saying, we want our athletes to graduate. Because do you really think these transfers are graduating?
I mean, are we playing football to graduate, or are we playing football to go to the next level?
I guarantee you half of them out there's not.
I guarantee you.
It's
about winning.
Yeah, it's about the money, and it's going to be like the NBA when LeBron James went to Miami, and they were going to have that super team down there. That's what's going to happen to college football because kids want to play for winners. And if they can, if they're playing for a 7-8 win team, it's not making the playoffs, and somebody like a Texas wants them over here, boom, they're going to be gone. There's going to be no loyalty.
Yeah. And they want to play for winners that are going to pay them lots of money to play.
Sure.
So it's all about the Benjamins, baby. And if Dabo and them, if Clemson, like I said, it may not be Dabo's call. It may be Clemson's call. You're not going to pay these guys to come here. So, but if they don't, they can forget it.
Correct.
They can forget
Well,
it.
now they may be playing their present players. They just don't want to go out on the free agent market.
Yeah.
I'm a free agent right now. I just
Are
want to
you?
let the world know how.
All right, Dale's a free agent. So he's yours for the taking.
Yeah.
How much money is it going to take to get you, Dale?
Not much.
Dale, you got for us tonight as our guest?
Earnest
Bowker. And tell us about him.
He is from Vicksburg. He's not from Vicksburg. You'd be surprised to know where he's from, but he is the Vicksburg Evening Post sports editor, and he's the longest running sports editor in the state of Mississippi
Wow.
for a newspaper.
He's been with us before.
He has.
Okay.
He helped us with SWAC's schools a couple years ago. So we're glad. And he's going to recap the opening week on. He's going to go through the big three and then the SWAC and maybe touch on those great Delta State okras.
Okay.
Is that what they're called, okras?
Fighting Okra.
Fighting okra. Statesmen, they're what they want to
Yeah,
be
whatever they want to be called. They've got enough history and enough wins.
they
can call them whatever they want to
They
be
won
called.
their 13th straight road game.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, no matter what league you're in.
Yeah. 13 straight road games.
Yep.
Well, on that note, let's take a break here from a sponsor and be back with tonight's guest, Earnest Bowker, right after this commercial break. See you after the message, folks.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome to the show, Ernest. Ernest, we've kind of reviewed a little bit about you being the Vicksburg Post sports editor, probably the longest running sports editor in the state of Mississippi. So we're glad to have you on the show today. And so we'll just get with the first question because of time allowances. But tell us what your thoughts on with the first weekend of college football.
Well, I'm an LSU graduate, so one of my favorite way to spend a weekend watching them poop bed again in another week one game. But as far as the Mississippi teams, I think we, other than some miss, I guess, we had a pretty good show, and it seems like across the state. So,
well,
Old Miss looked really good, for sure.
Yeah, well, sure. What you think about the new coach at State and his new offense? You think that's going to hold up in the SEC?
It's always hard to tell when you're playing Eastern Kentucky instead of, Alabama or LSU or Ole Miss. It's kind of hard to tell, it's apples and, kumquats, it's not even apples and oranges. But, certainly I think they looked a lot better. It would have been, I think they've broken out of a rut a little bit, hopefully, got some excitement. And they kind of got what they needed out of that game, which is just put up some points, blow somebody out, and kind of fire up the fan base and just, get some excitement going back up there after kind of being beat down for, really, I guess, since Mike Leach passed away. That year was just not great for them. So, that was good to see them get back on track.
Do you think they'll be competitive in the SEC this year? I mean, what would you think they could win, 3 or 4 SEC games?
Yeah, without having their schedule in front of me, I mean, they're going to have to go. I think they play Georgia, Alabama, and Ole Miss. That's they avoid LSU, but I think they play A&M. So there's some tough. They didn't get the best draw from from the SEC schedule makers. They might have caught a break when getting Florida when Florida's basically got a dead man walking coach this year. Florida's looking like they could go every bit of 1-10. So yeah, I mean they'll probably be a middle of the pack SEC team. I don't think they'll make the playoffs or anything, but I think they'll do all right. They won't be terrible. They won't be super great. But that's nice. After last year, I think just kind of getting things going back in the right direction is probably the biggest achievement if they can do that this year.
Yeah, I can't think of his name right here at the second, but the winning score USC made against LSU was a Mississippi State transfer running back, I believe, and so that's
Woody Marks.
He had 2 touchdowns, I think.
Yeah, but he scored the winning touchdown, which was fantastic for him. Well, it was good for USC folks, I guess. That kind of gets the monkey.
Yeah, not so much for us LSU.
Yeah,
not so much for us LSU folks.
Hey, now, let's be honest about this. It got the monkey off of Lincoln Riley's back for a little bit, at least, until he loses his first Big Ten game. And it also proves to me that LSU is very consistent in openers. And if I was any team in the country, I'd start calling LSU. Can we play you in your opening game? Because you're sure to get beat. So anyway, that's just a little joke.
That's what I told somebody over the weekend was, it's good thing they don't have any. It's a good thing they play somebody weak coming up next couple of years. Then you look at the schedule, and their next two season openers are home and home against Clemson. So it's like, God.
Yeah.
Clemson's kind of trending downwards. So maybe they can break that next year, but I don't have high hopes until they do.
Yeah, and it seems like Florida State and Florida both have fallen on hard times. How can you fall on hard times in Florida with as many athletes as they have? That just seems.
I don't know what's going on down in Florida. They, Billy Napier was, when LSU hired Brian Kelly a couple of years ago, Billy Napier was kind of one of the popular options among the LSU fans. He's coming from Louisiana, Lafayette. He was kind of one of the hot young up-and-coming coaches, and Florida got him first, I guess, and pushed him away. And that feels like LSU dodged a bullet there, not getting him, because he is watching that press conference after the Miami game. He is just done. I mean, I don't think there's any coming back on a lot of different levels from that beatdown. It's just a matter of when and not if they're going to probably fire him before the end of the season.
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts from for maybe what kind of season Ole Miss may have? Do you think they actually can make the playoffs?
Oh, definitely. With the 12 teams now, they're probably the second best team at worst, I think, of course, they've restructured the divisions now. I keep thinking of them as East and West. We don't have that anymore. But, they would probably be second or third best team in the SEC, maybe. You put Georgia up there. I think Alabama, until they show they're not, is up there. But they're right there with them. I mean, they're ranked number 6 in the country for a reason. And I don't see why they couldn't be in there even as a third or fourth best SEC team, depending on how things shake out. Of course, you discount it a little bit for Furman, but they sure look good Saturday. When you put 76 up and do pretty much whatever you want to do against a team like that, like you're supposed to, they didn't show me anything that seems to indicate that they're going to struggle against, at least the bottom 2/3 of their schedule. They might not beat Georgia, they might not beat Alabama, but they're going to probably be sitting there with probably 9-10 wins when it's all said and done, which ought to be enough to get you in.
Oh, what are your thoughts about Southern Miss? I know we didn't get much of really. I don't know what I really witnessed the other night because it didn't come on to about bedtime, and then it seemed like Southern made a couple of big plays, and then they just turned the ball over with a fumble, interception. It was all downhill after that. What do you think the Eagles are? Do you think they found their quarterback?
I'm going to have to take your word for it on that one. Because I kept trying to watch that game, and every time I turned on, they were in the booth, just vamping for time because they were in a weather delay.
Yeah.
I think by the time I really kind of was ready to dial in on it, it was about 11 o'clock, and thinking they were coming out of halftime and turning back on, they're in another weather delay. So I didn't see any of that game.
Yeah.
But just think that, going up against a pretty good Kentucky team on the road, it's kind of like the Ole Miss Furman game. You kind of discount it a little bit because they're not supposed to win that game. You just hope, I think it got away from them a little bit in the second quarter. I think it was 7-0 late in the first, and Kentucky scored 17 in the second quarter, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Just looking at the box score. So, that's kind of probably what Kentucky was expecting to do. You would have liked to see Southern Miss be certainly more competitive. The quarterback coming from Florida State, seeing what Florida State's doing, maybe they wish they had him. Maybe there was a reason he left there. Who knows? I think Southern Miss hopefully will be all right in the long run. If not, they're going to be looking for another coach probably by the end of the year. So, it's kind of a make or break year for them. But once they get into the Sun Belt, a little weaker part of the schedule, maybe hopefully they can make a run.
What SEC coaches do you think are maybe on the hot seat this year? Is there any that you think could be besides Napier? Napier
for sure. I'm trying to run through them in my head here. Brian Kelly's starting to get a little bit of heat. I think they'll be all right they're another one like they'll be sitting there 9 wins, probably when 8, 9, 10 wins when it's all said and done. If they can pull an upset, maybe they get to 10. That'll calm some people down. Plus, having a massive buyout's a nice insurance policy. Trying to think that
maybe
Vanderbilt, I would say, would always be on the hot seat, but they seem to be swinging upward.
I didn't know about South Carolina.
South Carolina had a tough time, the other day, so maybe they're looking for somebody new at the end of the year. I'm just trying to think of the teams off the top of my head that struggled a little bit, but so many teams just whooped up on people over the weekend. It was it's a little too early to predict that, except for maybe like I said, Napier's dead man walking, but on that it's probably a little too early to figure that out.
What was the most impressive team that you might have seen the weekend?
I think probably Georgia. Had a pretty good opponent coming out. Struggled a little bit in the first half to get going, and just kind of turned on the Jets. USC looked a little bit better than I thought they might against LSU. LSU's not a terrible team, even though they lost. Notre Dame was kind of impressive, I thought. Going down to Texas A&M and winning. A couple of different things in that game that people might look the other way on Texas A&M, but certainly going on the road and winning that game was pretty good. Pretty much everybody in the top 10 did about what you'd expect them to do. As far as winning and winning big against overmatched teams, except for I think Oregon struggled pretty good against an Idaho team, which is a question mark. But as far as nationally, again, week one, there weren't a whole lot of games you can really judge off of. So, that might be a better question to ask after week 2 or 3 when you get a few more data points in the set there.
Yeah, I was going to ask you a little bit about the SWAC teams, but it might be a better question for next week because they all kind of played. I don't say they played out of the league. I was really surprised that Jackson State didn't compete more with Monroe because I was reading Monroe hadn't had a winning season since 1981. Of course, you just can't tell. I know the quarterback for Jackson State really looked good in the parts of the game that I watched the other night. But let's talk a little bit about the East Mississippi Gulf Coast game and what your thoughts on that were.
Yeah, of course, East Mississippi's, always, they're always there, right up there at the top of everything. Gulf Coast usually is too. Starting off with a top 10 game on week 1, that was kind of a treat for fans. I think, a couple of our Vicksburg guys are big time players. Tyler Henderson, a receiver, had a big game in his debut for Gulf Coast. Trey Hall's their running back from Warren Central up here. I think he had 90 rushing yards and another 10 receiving for 100 total. For whatever reason, we've had kind of a pipeline from Vicksburg and Warren Central down to Gulf Coast the last couple of years. There's a couple other guys we got from here sitting the bench. So, for Gulf Coast to come out and kind of win that game, especially on the road, was certainly a statement.
Well, they had got a surprise bonus at the beginning of the season, getting Ty Keys back again, National Junior College Player of the Year last year, and he was moved on. And I guess about a week or so before the season started, didn't he decide he's going to come on back and go another year in the JUCO level? Is that correct?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah. I had an opportunity to go up there and watch that game. I tell you what, I've never seen Ty Keys play in person, but he's a big old guy. He can get around out there and sling it pretty good.
Yeah. Of course, he had a cup of coffee down at Southern Miss. I think their year of many quarterbacks a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I think he was one of the ones they ran through when they went through about 7 or 8 different quarterbacks. When Frank Gore was playing quarterback. But So he's kind of been a bounce back. They actually had another guy that did that. He was up in Northwest now, Zach Wilkie. But Ty Keyes, obviously, like I said, player of the year last year. And, East Mississippi is another one. You lose week one, but they're going to be fine. And, they're probably going to be playing for a state championship. We may see Gulf Coast and East Mississippi again, at the end of the road, in November, whenever they play the state championship game. So, so much talent is here in Mississippi at the JUCO level. It's crazy. They could probably beat up on, some of these teams in JUCO could probably hold their own with some D2, D3 teams, maybe even some low-end FCS teams. So that's a fun league to kind of keep an eye on for sure.
There's some hosses in that league too, buddy. I tell you what, I was up there, and that's it's impressive. It's impressive.
Yeah.
I think one that shocked everybody when they first read the score and thought it was a misprint was Pearl River went to Northwest and upset the Rangers 24-23. Pearl River's had several down years, so that just. But I'm sure Northwest and East Mississippi will both kind of turn their seasons around. I don't know who really can compete with them in that North. Maybe Combs. I'm not sure if Holmes can or not. I've always been impressed with what they've done the last couple years. And as far as now, Hines got upset, didn't he?
Yeah, Hines lost to Itawamba, I believe. Yeah, 10-7.
Yeah.
Kind of grinded out kind of game.
So I just know that the South, I'm not knocking the North in any way, but the South, it just seems like that Jones and Gulf Coast and Pearl River and Copeland and Hines will just hit you and hit you and hit you some more. That's kind of a physical football league, and everything.
Yeah, that balance and parity seems to kind of run in cycles. You get sometimes you have the North, sometimes you have the South, and right now it just seems, most of the better teams in the state are down south. Like you said, Copeland is a top 20 team. Jones is a top 20 team. You got Gulf Coast, of course. Pearl River, obviously, if they knock off Northwest on the road, that's an impressive win. Statement win for them. So the South is the South is rising again, I guess, as they say, right?
Well, it rises, but it seems to fall.
Up and down.
The North will overrun us, as they say. We have to protect ourselves. Well, listen, just look at
just don't let them recruit any running backs of James Sherman. That'll go down the city right there, right?
Yeah, Sherman and Grant. They tell a story in the history books about Grant. He came and he burned a lot of Vicksburg as far as the matches and stuff like that. When he got to Natchez, the Natchez mayor came out and met him and said, "Hey, you can have what you want, just don't burn our beautiful city." He said, "Fine." The next day, the mayor of Natchez supposedly died of a heart attack. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a real story or not, but Natchez seems to have more of the antebellum homes in Vicksburg. That's all I know.
Some deal was made.
But I can tell you one of the prettiest antebellum homes that I've ever seen, I believe, is in Natchez that looks straight up the river. Is that where they have the women come for the Rose Party? Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Rosalie, that's the DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution. The Rosalie's in the film bank.
Yeah. I mean, that's the beautiful view, and they said Grant had that from his bedroom. So that was just a little part of history there for you folks that's interested in a little education out there. Trying
to educate us. Good luck with that.
Didn't realize we were going to have a Civil War segue here during football talk. I'm for it.
Well, tell us about your thoughts nationally. Who do you think might come out of the Big Ten? Is it going to be the same old folks? Ohio State and Michigan?
Well, how many teams are in the Big Ten now? Like 48, I think, is what it is then?
Yeah.
Now listen, don't count me wrong, but I think it's 18. But I'm not sure.
I think that's right. It's not 10, I know that.
One of them's got 18, one of them's got 17, one of them's got 16. I can't tell anymore myself.
The Big 18.
Yeah.
Okay, So I think there's about 12 of those that we can cross off. I don't think it's going to be Rutgers or Maryland or Illinois or any of those. Purdue, I don't think is going to get there. So, you're kind of left with your biggies, your Penn States and your Ohio States and your Michigans, Ohio State, they kind of struggled a little bit to get going the other day against Akron, and they still end up winning 52-6. So, that kind of shows you where they're at. Even though they're moving the ball a whole lot on offense, they still put up, still just wouldn't, Akron could have played another 4 quarters. I don't think they would have scored a touchdown. Michigan needed a kind of a pick six to really put away Fresno State. So you had, and somehow they're a touchdown underdog this week against Texas, which is interesting, at home, which I thought was surprising. But they'll be there at the end. Penn State looked all right against West Virginia. That's a pretty good opener for them against, a peer team. Big Ten, Oregon certainly did not impress, even though they're number 3 in the country. Washington looked all right, even though, they're kind of rebuilding with a new coach. Will Rogers playing quarterback up there, started at State, Mississippi State, is up at Washington now. It's a little too early to tell after week 1, but I would probably say Ohio State until somebody knocks them off again, and knocks them off again. You probably need 3 losses to be out of this thing. They'll be there somewhere near the end. So I'll say Ohio State. Take my chances on that prediction.
Well, on that pick and that note, we're about out of time. Listen, we sure do appreciate you being with us today and what you bring to, I like to say, the Brouhaha table. I'm going to ask you to hold on for just a moment. Dale and I are going to take a break here from one of our sponsors and be back with tonight's final segment after this commercial. We'll see you right after the break.
Phillips Building Supply in Laurel, your hometown building supply store since 1954. We are locally owned and pride ourselves on helping our customers find exactly what they need. From foundations to roofs to doors and windows, Phillips has it. For tools, hardware, lumber, and plywood, visit Phillips Building Supply.
Welcome back, everyone. Ernest, it's always nice to have him with us. He's passionate for the game, and he loves it and his knowledge. We appreciate it.
Well, he's a Yankee trying to be a rebel.
Well, he don't sound like a Yankee, does he?
Yeah, no, he doesn't. He's kind of changed his. Well, he doesn't. He went to LSU, so he doesn't even sound like a Cajun. And if you live in Vicksburg, you're just across the river from
you right there.
So, but anyway.
I guess that's a perfect mix from a New Jersey dialect. You throw a little South Louisiana in there, and he kind of meets in the middle somewhere.
Yeah. He does, but he doesn't mind telling you he's an LSU fan, but he understands that, of course, now he has to write a little bit about LSU because he lives right there on the line between the two big, the river there. What's that river called? That big one, wide.
The Big Muddy.
Yeah, the Big Muddy. Yeah.
Big Muddy.
It looked really low here a couple of weeks ago when I crossed it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You've been crossing the river again, Dale.
Yeah, I did.
You're not supposed to be doing that.
I went over to Texas.
You're gonna get in trouble over there
for a weekend.
Yeah.
And everything.
Must be nice just to be able to get up and go.
Yeah, it is.
How you do that?
My wife just tells me it's time to go. It's time to go. My wife controls my life. I don't know how yours is, but mine, it's time to get up.
Time to get
up.
Time
to go to bed. Time to go to bed.
It's good to have somebody tell you what to do.
It is. It's lovely. I didn't know I was married and somebody could teach me how to drive too. You know.
There's a reel on you know what a reel is, right? You see them on,
yeah.
And there's one about got married and got me a little helper to help me drive the car. Mm-hmm. She helps me know what color the light is and when to stop and when to go and all that kind of stuff.
And which way to go, which way to turn.
That's right. I love my little helper in the car. Yeah. Is that what you say, Dale? You love your helper? Yeah. Well, you know what, bro? We all need help.
Yes.
Even who knows more? Who knows more about the help you need than your lovely wife?
Well,
she's got her hands full.
When we were dating, she thought I was so smart, and now I feel like that I'm not living up to what she thought I was.
Well, it's been a long time. She hadn't given up on you by now, Dale. I think you're in like Flint, brother. I think you're gonna make it. Looks like it. Any parting gifts you want to leave us with? Parting pearls of wisdom you want to leave us with here today?
I believe that Ole Miss and Southern Miss will win this week.
Do you really?
Yes, and the Bulldogs are going to have a battle in Arizona. That's my thoughts on it.
Well, you heard it here first.
And I think that either Belhaven or Millsaps will get a win in their rumble against each other. The Riverside Rumble, baby.
Man, fur's gonna be flying, or whatever they wear. Whatever they're wearing up there, it'll be flying. Folks, we appreciate y'all being with us tonight. We want to remind you that you can follow us during the week on our Facebook page at the Brouhaha, but really all of our stuff is cataloged on our what's it, a YouTube channel we got there? That's what it is, YouTube channel, and it's the Brouhaha. All our shows are archived there. You can check us out. We appreciate you. We appreciate our guests, Earnest Bowker, being with us again. But it's come to that time. It's time to say goodbye, Dale.
Goodbye, Dale.
And we'll see you next week for more of the Brouhaha. Get us out of here, Jamie.
You've been listening to the Brouhaha with Dale McKee and Marshall Wood. Heard Tuesday evening, 6 p.m. on WABO. For more of the Brouhaha, follow us during the week on Facebook and WABO.